right, fifth downers, welcome. This is the fifth down. This is your host for today's episode, K-Mill. Always to my left, Mr. Johnny Slokes.
Yo, what up?
All right, today we got a lot to talk about. This is the fifth down, brought to you by Team Manager, generating dominant winning DFS lineups and protecting your season long term. Beta available May 6th. Invite your friends, win free lineups, and 40 referrals, and you get a chance to win a ball signed by Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, basically, if you guys don't know about Team Manager, what they basically do is they help you with your season-long lineups. They also give you lineups for like DraftKings and FanDuel, stuff like that. So they're a really great company. We told them we'd give them a shout-out, so there it is.
All right, so got a lot to talk about this episode.
You want to go with the news and notes first?
All right.
There's a lot of news and notes we got.
Or actually, you go ahead and kick that, Johnny.
All right. Well, obviously, I'm sure y'all know by now that the number 1 and number 2 picks in the NFL draft have been traded away for the King's ransom. We got the Titans and the Rams with the deal. Basically, what this deal consists of is the Titans getting 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a third-round pick. And the Rams get a first, 4th, and the 6th off from this year. How do you feel about this trade that went down, K-Mill?
I know we differ a little bit on opinion on this one. I think it could be good. I don't like the guy that they're looking at drafting, which is Jared Goff. Those are the latest reports coming out of there. I feel like they gave up a little too much for that first overall pick. I mean, they really only traded up how many spots? I think it was 7.
They went up from the 15th to the 1st.
Oh, never mind then. Well, they went up quite a bit, but I still feel like, it's kind of a hit or a miss. I don't really like Jared Goff with that first number 1 overall pick, so we'll get into that a little later, but what do you think, Johnny?
I really don't feel like this is the year to be drafting your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, not exactly.
But from the Rams aspect, they were like, shit, man, I don't want Chase Keenum being my quarterback. We need to do something. And they gave up a lot less than what the Redskins gave up for RG3. So
yeah, let's start talking about that.
We'll see about that. The other trade that happened was the Browns and the Eagles made a deal. The Eagles essentially moved up to the number 2 overall pick, and they also got a 4th rounder for next year, but they'd given up their first round pick, which was the 8th overall. They gave up a 3rd and a 4th rounder from this year, and a 1st and a 2nd from next year. So essentially, it feels like I feel like they're getting ripped off.
Yeah, I do too. Obviously they only traded up 7 spots. Actually, no, not even. Yeah, 6 spots.
6 spots. Yeah.
Yeah, they only traded up 6 spots, and they're pretty much getting the leftovers for what the Rams don't take. So. And
their GM was like, "Oh, don't worry, Bradford. You're still gonna be our starter."
Yeah.
And that leads right into our next note. Bradford now wants to be traded.
Yeah, I don't know how true this is. I haven't heard anything officially out of Bradford's mouth that he wants to be traded, but the earlier reports coming in are that he requests a trade, and who blames him?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play for them.
Yeah, exactly. They during free agency, they all threw their eggs all in Bradford's basket, and now they're kind of. It feels like betrayal, honestly. Like if I was Bradford, I wouldn't want to play for them either. So we'll see what happens with that.
Have you heard any potential landing spots for him?
Well, of course, I think with any available quarterback, Denver's in the mix for any team because, or at least the speculation is.
I know he wants to be traded, but I don't think anybody's going to want to trade for that contract that he just signed.
Yeah, I don't like the contract either, and I don't think Denver does either, especially since they're in penny pinching mode. I don't see it happening. We'll have to see, though. The Jets are looking for a quarterback. Who knows at this point? Maybe Bradford plays out this season with Philly, and then he moves on next season. A lot to happen.
Well said. We're going to move on to our biggest, most recent news. Is Norman is being picked up by the Washington Redskins. He is officially an Indian.
I think the best part.
How do you feel about that one?
I think the best part of this trade is that we get to see OBJ versus Norman every year, twice a year.
It's going to be a fucking battle week in and week out, man.
It's going to be awesome.
Think about all the good receivers he gets to go against in that division. He has Beckham. He has Des Bryant. He has to go against Jordan Matthews on a lesser note, but he gets to go against those 3 receivers.
Yeah,
six of his games right there.
There's a lot of people saying that Josh Norman last year was a fluke, including myself. I don't know. This is going to be a big prove it year to me because you're saying he's going up against a lot of elite receivers. we're going to see what happens with that. It's going to be interesting to see because if he gets burned on a lot of these long touchdowns this year, I see people starting to claim bust.
You know what? He went against a lot of good receivers last year. He shut most of them down. I do think towards the end of the year, Julio got the best of them, but it's going to be an interesting season for him. I think he's a pretty good zone coverage corner, but I have to compare him more to a Byron Maxwell. He fit the system really good. He had a lot of good players that were around him. Now, so it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Now, do you put him in the same neighborhood as Aqib Talib and Darrell Revis, all the elite corners?
See, I don't know, Lester. He's not a guy that follows you around on the field. He doesn't go to the slot. He doesn't go to the other side. He plays his own.
That's true.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He's really good at what he does. He's good, but I don't put him on that same pedestal as the others.
Agreed on that one. All right, getting into our next news. What do we got?
Well, it appears like trade talks with Kaepernick to Denver are now dormant. It doesn't appear like anything's going to get worked out. Maybe he's just going to end up being a backup in San Francisco.
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, there's a possibility he can win that starting job in training camp. Unlikely, though.
What do you call it? Chip Kelly says he really, really likes Blaine Gabbert, and he wants to build him up. Yeah,
I feel like that's what he's trying to do. I was really disappointed. I really felt like, Cap would sacrifice a little bit of dough to go to Denver, because he's in a great situation in Denver, a dominant defense, great receivers. So if there was anywhere to revive his career, it would be Denver. We'll see, though. I'm actually, call me crazy, but I'm starting to get a little sold on Butt Fumble. I feel like he might have if not a dominant year, at least a decent year, game manager. I think he'll be better than Teddy Bridgewater, that's for sure.
Is he going to butt fumble his way to the AFC Championship?
I sure hope so. So we'll see. We'll see about that one. And last but not least, Muhammad Wilkerson. Jets claim he's not actively being shopped, but there's conflicting stories because there are teams that are saying he is being shopped. So what do you think about that, Johnny?
I feel like he will be shopped. Probably not now, but maybe sometime next week, during the NFL draft. I could see them shopping him around and maybe try to move up to get a quarterback, maybe say a Paxton Lynch or Connor Cook or something along those lines. Yeah. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like he'd be some product that he could be moved for in the draft.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Johnny. I totally agree with you. I think honestly, if we see Muhammad Wilkerson moved, it's going to be during the draft. It's going to be an interesting piece. See the Jets move up in the first round. Who knows? But he is a potential piece that they can move in the draft. I see it happening in day one, though.
All right, so
let's jump right into it.
Yeah, Fifth Downers, what do you guys got in your cup? I know we got some Jack and Coke, and it's tasting good.
Yeah, nice and heavy, just like we like it.
Let's jump right into it. We're going to go right into the NFC Overview. If you have not heard yet, we're going to jump right into the NFC East. It's got quite a bit of players we can talk about here. We want to start off with Dallas?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start off with the Cowgirls. All right, so Tony Romo, you think that collarbone's going to hold up this year?
It's been a reoccurring injury that's happened at least 2 or 3 times. I know I had that same injury, and I'm still hurting from it. So, if he stays healthy, you could probably get him at a bargain, and I could see him being a very viable option later in the draft because a lot of people are going to be scared about that injury that he's been getting.
Exactly. And a disclaimer on that, too, because I know from personal experience, we were in 2 leagues together last year. I had Romo, my other one, because I did draft him at a value, and I thought I was getting a value. Turns out, though, my entire draft was fucked because of him. And I think this entire team...
But it's okay. I gave you Palmer.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That did help. But I also had to give you Hopkins, so... wasn't the best. But I will say this, though. The entire Cowboys season really depends on, is Romo going to stay healthy? Is he not?
Because we know if Romo gets hurt, it hasn't produced without him.
Yeah, he puts up, somewhat pedestrian numbers. He's gonna put up numbers, but honestly, the crazy numbers he was putting up aren't going to be there without Romo, or at least a competent signal caller back there. So remains to be seen. What about the running back situation, Johnny?
This is the big point that I wanted to hit on, is the the Dallas backfield. I feel like, I do think it's going to be a pretty productive backfield. The question is, who's going to get the majority. At this point, it does look like it's going to be McFadden, but here's the point I want to bring up about McFadden. What is he always known for in Oakland?
Injuries.
Being hurt. And I could see Morris slipping into that spot and just taking over.
Yeah, I can see that too. He was the workhorse for, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years in Washington. I think it was 3 years. And he's a guy that
And then it was up to last year where they stopped using him as heavy.
Yeah, he's kind of a mainstay. I've been playing fantasy football for almost 10 years now. And he's a guy who's really been a mainstay in a lot of my drafts. I've drafted Morris, I think 3 or 4 times. And last year was the only time he really disappointed me. So he's an interesting proposition, that Dallas backfield. I think you're right, Johnny. It's going to be hinge on if McFadden either struggles or he gets hurt. But I see him jumping in there.
Go ahead.
Keep an eye on him for your waiver wire.
Yeah, see that's another thing. Like he might not even have to have McFadden get injured. He might just outproduce him. He fits that zone blocking scheme beautifully. And him landing in Dallas is a dream matchup for him.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I want to just bring up really, really quick touch on. You actually predicted this happening mid-season last year. You said that Morris was a good fit for Dallas. I kind of disagree with you, but I got to give it to you. You had it right on that one.
I did say that last year. As far as where to draft them, it looks like McFadden. He's going in the fifth, sixth round right now.
I don't like him there.
Here's my opinion on McFadden. If you're having a live draft and you're with your buddies and you're drinking, if you're still sober and you're drafting McFadden, you're drafting him too early. You need to be drunk to draft McFadden. If you're drunk, that means you're drafting him in the right spot.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah, he's a guy I'm personally staying away from. That's way too high for me. In fact, honestly, he's just the guy I'm staying away from because I think even 7th round value is too much for him.
I mean, Morris is currently being drafted in a lot of mock drafts right now, but not nearly as early as McFadden.
I mean,
he's being taken like 9th, 10th round.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't even waste a pick on a backup.
Honestly, I think that's wonderful value for Morris.
I think it's wonderful value, but you might have to wait for him, and then see if McFadden falters.
He's a guy I wouldn't mind stashing on my bench.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because what I think could lie in front of him.
That's true. All right, so moving right along
last but not least, we got Des Bryant. Obviously, we know the talent.
We're talking about Des.
Yeah, we obviously know about the talent that Des has, but I think a lot of his talent is kind of reliant on Homo staying healthy.
Yeah, I mean, not even just Romo. I mean, it's just, we have to have a competent signal caller back there for him to be successful. Last year, he had the revolving door of what was it? Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, and Matt Castle.
Matt Castle, yeah.
I think he had someone else as well, but
yeah, just kind of a shit show in that.
None of them. They all sucked ass.
Yeah, they all sucked ass. So Dez, draft with caution.
He's going towards like the back end of the first.
Now. I have him at number 10 on my draft board. If Tony Romo can stay healthy all year, I think he's an absolute fantasy monster.
He's never been a guy that will get you 100 catches or 1,500 yards, but he is that guy that gets you those double-digit touchdowns. So it really matters in pretty much all formats. Oh, yeah. I mean, the touchdowns is where the numbers are at. If you got a guy that will score a touchdown, I mean, think about that. That's 6-7 points every single time he scores. So, all right. So I think that's enough about the Cowgirls. I hate talking about this team. What about the Deadskins? All right, so the Washington Indians, I like to call them the Indians. For all you political correctness guys, can go suck my ass. I'm not going to suck your ass. I'm not going to suck your ass. That's an inside joke. You got Kirk Cousins. I know that I'm not really big on him. I know you're not. You actually have him under your bus on your article. Yeah. I think where he's going to go this year. I feel like last year, of course, he wasn't really on too many people's radar. A lot of people were. In fact, at the start of the season, NFL Network was saying that they had all the teams ranked, and they had Washington as the very worst team in the league last year, and they surprised everybody, made the playoffs. So. I mean, that's surprising in itself, but I'm not too high on Cousins. I feel like he's going to have a down year from last year. A lot of his success hinges on injuries and such and such. I just really don't feel good about him. Maybe you can draft him late, but I think you're going to have to draft him too high. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we brought this point up before, but a lot of his success last year, it hinged on going up against teams at home that had bad defenses.
Exactly.
If he went up against a good defense, he had terrible numbers. If he was on the road, I think he only had like 1 or 2 games that he did well on the road. One of them was like when he played Philly, and Philly had an awful defense.
All I got to say about Kirk Cousins is, you like that? No, Kirk. I don't like that. And that's all I got to say about him.
That's enough about Captain Kirk. We got Deshaun Jackson. He's getting a little bit up there in age. I think he's like 29 or something like that. I could be wrong. But
still one of the premier deep threats in the league, though.
I think a lot of people are shying away from him because of his soft tissue injury he had last year to his hamstring.
Yeah, that took a long while to get over.
I think he was out for like at least half the year. And I mean, even when he came back, he was up and down. Like he had some successful weeks, and then the 1 week I decided I wanted to start him in my NFL league, he got me like 2 points.
Yeah, I know. I got
the risky run with having Deshaun, though.
I got a little lucky when I played D Jackson. I think the other league where you didn't have him, I had him, and he absolutely blew the fuck up for me like 2 weeks, and so.
He's a guy.
He was hard to predict when he was going to blow up, but when he did, oh man, he was money.
I think he's one of those guys like. You love him or you want nothing to do with him. Yeah,
I'm a guy who's a little indifferent towards him. I feel like if you can get him at good value, take him. But
and then he's like, I mean, I've been doing a lot of mock drafts, and I find myself every single mock draft I've done in like the 10th, 11th round, he was available. So I just like, oh fuck, I'll take him then.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, he'll be like my 4th, 5th receiver that I have like on my team, like.
He's a good bench stash, though.
He gives you very good depth. He does.
Oh yeah, and an interesting trade piece too, because if you got a guy in your league that's high on him, they'll want him and they'll overpay for him.
I mean, the only issue with him, it doesn't seem like he's like their number 1 option anymore with the year that Jordan Reed had last year.
Yeah, jumping into our next player, Jordan Reed. I think next year he's going to be a touchdown machine. What do you think, Johnny?
As long as he stays healthy, I think he'll easily be a top 3 tight end. That's the big thing, though. Is he going to stay healthy? It's the issues he's had in the past. He's had some concussions.
Yeah, even last year, he correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like a hamstring injury.
I think he missed a game or 2.
Yeah, he missed a couple games last year, even though he had a fantastic year. But he's one of those guys that you're drafting him with a little injury risk, but at the same time, he's going to produce for you either way.
Knowing his injury risk. Would you be willing to draft him in the 3rd round?
Absolutely. I think that's excellent value for him.
That's right where he's going right now. Is like the back end of the 3rd, early 4th.
Oh yeah,
he's usually going in like early 3rd or the beginning or back end of the 3rd.
If for some reason I don't draft Gronk in the 1st round, he's the one I'm looking at in the 3rd round.
Yeah, I mean, he's turned into a beast, and that's what you're really hoping that you'll get next year. So let's jump into the Philadelphia Eagles. This has been a team that's been talked about a lot in the offseason. Who do you want to talk about first?
Well, I want to start off with probably the biggest question mark, Jordan Matthews. Is he going to, live up to that number 1 receiver pedigree, or is he just going to be another garbage time?
He's the king of garbage time.
Yeah, he is the garbage time king. I mean, I had him on my team last year, thinking I was getting him in a really good trade that I thought I had, but he ended up just being a complete. He didn't help my team except for in 2 games, and those 2 games he blew the fuck up in the 4th quarter in garbage time. But other than that, I didn't get shit out of him. So
he's a guy that he finished as the number 20 wide receiver in our PPR league last year, and you didn't feel like you're getting a wide receiver 2 value out of him, though.
No, I sure didn't. It felt like really like honestly like mid-tier wide receiver 3.
It seemed like it was that guy that someone drafted, but then nobody wanted him, and he just kept getting traded around the league a bunch of times. I know that happened in one of my leagues.
Yeah, that happened to me because when I got him in a trade, I was like, I'm getting him a great value. I'm pretty much ripping this guy off, thinking he's going to be maybe a wide receiver 1. Maybe he'll turn it around at the end of the season, and he never did. So, he's a guy that you're drafting with an intense amount of risk. Where do you see him going out in the draft, Johnny?
It's kind of interesting to say about where he's going to go. Right now, I think the highest I'd probably take him is like the 4th round.
Wow, yeah, I see. And he's a guy that if you have to draft him in the 4th, that's really a waste of a 4th round pick. Thinking about all the guys that are going to be available, would you even take a risk on him, Johnny?
honestly, I really don't want anybody on the Eagles, really.
Yeah, that's a team I'm staying away from.
I'm even nervous. This will jump us right into, I guess, the other Matthews. I really don't even want him just because I'm nervous.
Such an injury risk.
Well, yeah, one, he's injury prone, and two, are they going to bring somebody else in there? Like, we don't know. I guess we'll know more by next week. But like,
yeah, that's true. After the draft, know a little bit more on if he's going to be competing or not.
By the way, guys, since we just brought this up, once the NFL drafts from the 28th to the 30th, I promise you, on the 31st, I'm going to have my rankings for all the positions updated. Like, we're going to have, we'll actually have the rookies like injected into our rankings.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't really see a whole lot of like rookies that will be like in our like top 36. Mm-hmm. But
they'll be in there scattered. I think a guy like Ezekiel Elliott will get some fantasy relevance.
But yeah, he'll easily get put into like my top 20. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anyways, we were on Ryan Matthews.
Yeah, Ryan Matthews. So yeah, again, just like Johnny was saying, injury risk. Had him on my team a little bit last year. He was kind of just my bench,
You were stashing him away.
My stash.
A handcuff.
Exactly, because I was always hoping that DeMarco Murray would go down, and that finally when that whole situation did happen, I was like, oh shit, I just struck gold. But I really didn't, because he didn't get utilized to his full potential under that idiot Chip Kelly. So fuck Chip Kelly and fuck Ryan Matthews. You don't want him. And Sam Bradford. What do you think about him, Johnny?
I did not draft him. I told everyone, stay far away from the field. I said this even last year. Stay away from the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
Yeah, you did say that.
They're unproven, and they proved me right. But I still went against my wisdom. I started Sam Bradford not once, but twice.
I thought,
well, the first time he did really good. I was like, oh, awesome, Sam Bradford, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's play him next week.
And he burnt the fuck out of you.
I only needed 15 points out of him. That sounds like, he can easily get 15 points.
He get 15 points.
And he got me 13.6. So
fuck him.
He constantly just kept turning the ball over. That's what he does. He's a turnover machine.
So I think the fifth down is kind of consensus on let's just stay away from the Eagles again this year. 2.0.
I mean, well, think about this. They got rid of DeMarco. They traded him away. They have Jordan Matthews. They have no number 2 receiver because Aguilar sucks.
Yeah,
I had that written down in my notes. Aguilar sucks. I had to mention it. I mean, and then I know a lot of people that they're kind of high on Zachary Ertz. I've seen a lot of sites have him as a sleeper at tight end.
I keep hearing that every year about Zachary Ertz. Watch out for him. He's going to be a tight end sleeper. They've been saying it for so many years now that I just don't believe it anymore. I don't buy into the hype.
2014, man, I drafted Zach Ertz because I thought, yeah, dude, I think that might be a really good pick there. Comparing him to Gronk, that might be a really good. Let's do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I had him for half the fucking year, and he didn't do shit. I think he got like 3 touchdowns that year. Last year, I think he got like 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like, he just doesn't score in the red zone. Like, he just doesn't get the job done.
Exactly, and to be a relevant fantasy tight end, you got to get those touchdowns, and he just fails to do that.
Think about it. Most tight ends are dependent upon touchdowns, unless you're Gronk.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Gronk's
that and Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay. Yeah, Delaney Walker too. Definitely.
But
I'm done talking about
we're done. Let's go. We already talked about Washington. We already talked about Dallas.
Let's start with
Giants.
The NYGs, the G-men. All right.
I'll let you start off with the first guy we're going to talk about, since I know you wrote about him.
Yeah. So my busts and my sleepers. I got Eli Manning. He's one of my big sleepers this year, and it's not because of his success that I'm saying he's a sleeper, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, I don't ever sleep on Eli Manning. But really, when you look at the deep quarterbacks in this pool, he's a quarterback that you're going to be able to get late, and he's going to produce great numbers. I mean, you could probably go into more of the stats, Johnny, on him.
Yeah, he's been. I think he's going to be overlooked by a lot of people that are going to want a lot of this top tier talent. And what they don't realize is Eli's been producing at a top tier talent. He's back-to-back seasons, got 4,400 yards. He set his career high in touchdowns last year with 35 touchdown passes.
Yeah, he also cleaned it up, too. He didn't throw as many picks.
He definitely cut his interceptions down these past 2 years. And the question is is it because of his offensive coordinator, or is it because of Beckham? I'd like to think it's probably because of Beckham.
Well, I have a feeling that a little bit of it's because of Beckham, but now think about it. His old offensive coordinator is now his head coach. So, I mean, that it's great that they're keeping him in the organization, and I think Eli Manning's going to have another great year this year.
He's going fucking late, man. He's going like 9th round.
I know. That's a steal.
There you go. There's my starting quarterback.
That's a steal. Yeah,
I'll wait till the 9th.
Yeah, if Eli Manning can stay healthy, he's a guy last year that I was sleeping on, and he's a guy that I really wish I would have drafted.
And I know you're really big on this about I know you've been talking about this for a couple of months now about waiting on I know it's like a new trend in fantasy football is to wait to draft your quarterback, and I'm sure you've got plenty of examples.
Oh yeah.
I'm a guy that I feel the same way, like wait on your quarterback, but I'm not afraid to jump at a value if I fucking see it.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's my point too, is that, stay away. I tried a different strategy last year. Drafting Andrew Luck number 1 overall. We all know how that ended up. We don't really need to sit here and talk about that.
Would you have like the 4th overall pick?
Fourth overall. Yeah. Andrew Luck fell into my lap, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try a different strategy this year. I'm going to draft a quarterback number 1 overall because I thought he was going to be a PPR monster last year. It didn't actually happen.
Honestly, I was so happy when I seen you draft him. Because I knew I'm going to get myself a stud running back, which obviously normally you'd think, like, because of what happened last year, that probably didn't work out for you. But I drafted AP 7th overall. But we're on a totally different. So
let's get back on topic here.
That's what we're going to talk about next show.
Bottom line is, if you can grab Eli Manning, where they're saying he's going to go through the 7th or the 8th or the 9th, even, you take him because that's extremely great value for a guy that, if he stays healthy all year, is going to be your stud at quarterback.
All right, our next guy we're going to talk about is Odell Beckham.
Prima donna. the new version of a diva receiver here.
I might have asked you this already, but would you, if say you have the number 2 overall pick, would you take him?
Well, he's actually going number 3 on my draft board. If I'm sitting at number 2, if Antonio Brown, who is well assumed to be the number 1 overall, goes at number 1. I'm probably going to snag Le'Veon because as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a stud running back all year. But what about you, Johnny?
I mean, I kind of go back and forth all the time. I can't even. I'm not trying to pull it up. I'm sorry if I'm stalling a little bit, but I go back and forth all the time about who I would actually take at number 2. Would I take Julio Jones or would I take Odell Beckham? And it all comes.
So what you're saying that you would take both of those guys over to Le'Veon?
Yeah, I would.
Really? Wow, bold statement by Johnny Slokes.
I mean, I think the main reason it has to do it is just with when I'm looking at a player that I want to draft in that first round, I look at like what's your injury risk, what's your usage going to be like, and I know that both Beckham and Julio have potential to get 100 catches.
Oh, sure.
And Le'Veon, I mean, not that Le'Veon Bell doesn't. Le'Veon Bell has a chance to get like over 300 touches.
Oh, yeah.
But he also has more of an injury risk compared to the two.
That is true. That's a good point. I think you, on your draft board, you were very, very, very high on receivers in your top 10. I'm a little bit more of a mix with running backs and receivers.
Well, I don't actually have like a consensus like rankings for all the positions. I broke it down by position, so I do plan on working on that, but I want to kind of get like a opinion of all of our staff. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, these are only our pre-draft rankings right now. So
yeah, currently right now, my last rankings that I had for receivers, which hasn't been updated since March 16th, I did have Julio Jones at 2 and Beckham at 3.
Wow.
But
you had Le'Veon falling quite a bit.
No, this is just receivers.
Oh, just okay. All right.
I obviously I think Le'Veon Bell the top 5 pick.
Oh, of course, yeah. I was about to say that's.
I'm just saying. I think I prefer a guy that. Here's the reason why I think I kind of do like Beckham a little bit better than Julio, is because how long has it been since Julio's had a double-digit touchdown season? It's been at least 2012, 2013.
You're right. Yeah.
Beckham's done it just last year.
Yeah, exactly. I think really, OBJ is great, phenomenal, but I really think that Le'Veon's going to go touchdown for touchdown. But we're getting way off subject here, so let's just go back. Regardless, OBJ. If he falls into your lap at say number 3,
you're gonna love what you get out of him.
Yeah, he's gonna have a great season. Barring any injuries, he's gonna be great.
I mean, but the real question is for the Giants is who's gonna be their number 2 receiver? Is it gonna be Victor Cruz? Is it gonna be Dwayne Harris? I don't like that name. But,
I don't like his hair either.
But or are they gonna draft? Are they gonna draft a receiver? You gotta think that they're probably gonna look to draft a receiver, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, they went all offseason shoring up their defense. They signed Oliver Vernon to a huge contract.
I think that was the right move, though.
Yeah, I mean,
think about all the defenses in the NFC East. They suck ass.
I think really you hit it right on the head there. It's either going to be Dwayne Harris or maybe Victor Cruz makes a massive comeback from patellar tendon surgery, which we haven't seen it yet. And it'll be interesting to see. He did take a pay cut on his contract, but the biggest thing is going to be, I think they're going to draft one because they pretty much spent all their free cap money on these big free agents on defense. So,
and they did make the right move to shore up their defense. And
they did, because their defense was a gaping hole bigger than fucking Snooki's vagina last year.
I mean, that and the whole NFC East was like that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Just going on a side note here, we're going to talk about them later, but the Saints was the worst. That was the great fucking hole of fucking Gibraltar,
Fucking like a goddamn black hole defense. That's the new scheme there.
Yeah, just let them in.
All right. But yeah, I think we just wrapped up the NFC East here. We're going to move over to the NFC West.
And just a real quick side note here, the Giants' backfield, stay the fuck away from them.
Yeah, they don't really have a whole lot going on there. I mean, we got Rashad Jones. I think he finished as an RB20 last year, but he did it in a way. He did it in a way where you didn't feel like you were getting an RB2.
Exactly. He burnt me on a couple games. Fuck him. End of story.
Well, we know why you hate him so much.
Yeah. It's personal.
But there's really, I mean, it's a hot mess. I think they're bringing Andre Williams back for ungodly known reasons. I don't know why, but
I still have no idea why they're bringing him back.
And I heard they might draft a running back. So
yeah,
there's enough for them.
It's a train wreck. Bye.
All right, so now we're going to the NFC West. Yeah, so if you haven't heard, the boys are back in town.
The boys, guess who's back? The Rams. They are back in L.A. Let's start talking about that number 1 pick. What do you see happening with that, Johnny?
Well, I mean, as you said earlier during the news and notes, it does appear like they're going to be leaning more towards Goff, which I think is a mistake. I think
it's a huge mistake.
Here I'm going to go a little bit in depth why it's a mistake. All right, what Goff is he's a shotgun quarterback out of California, right? Yeah?
True.
Well, the Rams, who's their star? Gurley.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to want to build around Gurley.
True.
So if they're in a shotgun formation, is he really going to want to line up under center and just hand it off to Goff? Yeah,
I mean, it looks like a DeMarco Murray situation. He struggled out of the shotgun system last year with Bradford, so we all know what happens with that.
Anytime when you're in a professional position, in a professional league,
mm-hmm.
learning a new system, it's a big step, and it takes a lot of work.
Now, Johnny, I'm going to ask you a quick question here. Do you see this potentially hurting Todd Gurley's value if they draft Goff?
I mean, Todd Gurley's a beast. He's going to get his. But I feel like Wentz overall would be a better fit for that team.
I agree with that statement.
Granted, he probably needs to develop a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like he'd be better under center, and he could lean more on Todd Gurley, which would be good for Todd Gurley because it means he'd be getting the ball more.
That is true. I think Wentz is the better decision here. However, the early reports out of here are just, that Goff's going to be the guy. But, and I told you about this earlier, I don't know why this is such a big factor, but, he has small hands. I mean, nobody likes small hands, and he's got them. I mean,
if your hands are small, what else is small?
I mean, think about it. Probably has a small dick, and he probably can't even impress the women because he's got small hands. So, hey. I don't know, though. Yeah, so I'm leaning towards Wentz here. If they take Goff, I don't like that fit.
I mean, we obviously know, we already touched on it a little bit, that Todd Gurley's a beast.
Yeah, Todd Gurley, definite stud. I had him last year on both of my fantasy teams, and he was an absolute stud.
You traded for him in one league, yeah?
Yeah, I traded. Yeah, that's right. I traded Steve. Yeah,
that was a great trade. I'm glad. I think that actually probably
really worked out for me.
Well, I think it really worked out for me too, because I think you stole him away from Kentucky Slot Fest, and he ended up choking in the playoffs and let me win. So
yeah, and Gurley was an absolute stud all season. He did get hurt a little bit because of his quarterback play. So, if Wentz and Goff come in there and they help that situation out, then, more power to them. Because,
honestly,
if this team is one-dimensional, it's going to hurt Gurley's value.
I think, I do have him at, I think, I'm kind of low on him. I think I have him at number 4. I probably am.
I have him exactly the same.
I'm talking about at running back.
Oh, at running back? Yeah. Okay, that's a little low. He's my number 2.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm a little bit low on him. I think he should probably be like my number 2. Maybe he would be my number 1 if he had some help around him. The reason why I don't like him as much as some other guys is because a lot of teams are going to be stacking the box against him, which is going to be kind of hard. He did start to tail off a little bit towards the end once teams realize, all they're going to do is give the ball to Hurley. So.
Yeah, well, and you know what? That also is just a quick side note I want to hit real quick is that's also going to work one of two ways too. So they're going to stack the box, and then whoever ends up being the starting quarterback in not St. Louis, I'm sorry, L.A. Their value is going to go up, in my opinion, because, like I said, I'm going to try a new strategy this year. I'm going to draft a sleeper or a quarterback, and probably one of these guys will either go late or go undrafted totally. So you got to think if they stack the box against Gurley and Carson Wentz or Jared Goff step up and actually, show that they can throw the ball downfield, it's gonna bring up Gurley's value. But then also it's going to bring up either and then to say if Gurley struggles because they're stacking the box against him, it's going to bring up Wentz or Goff's value.
So what you're saying is you would consider maybe drafting one of those two guys in your draft?
If you can get them late, I don't see why not. Maybe taking a chance. I mean, think about it. The waiver wire is going to be full a couple of weeks.
What's the highest pick you waste on one of them?
Ooh, I'm thinking late. I'm thinking like the apps...
Like 14th, 15th?
I'm thinking, yeah, exactly, 14th or 15th round. If you can get one of them at that... I'm not going to say it's a value because we have no idea what they're going to do at the NFL level, but...
Because of my stance at quarterbacks, I probably wouldn't draft them. That's because...
I'm just saying...
Obviously, I know you're not, but I'm kind of thinking that Flacco could have a good year, and that would probably be my late pick.
I'm just saying don't rule it out because I think I'm sitting the same as you. If I can get a quarterback at a value, I'm definitely going to draft him.
I'm almost at the point where it's like I almost want to just only take one quarterback in my draft.
Yeah, exactly. Because think about how full the waiver wire is going to be in like 3 weeks. You're going to be able to get somebody that So say Matthew Stafford struggles, you're going to be able to grab him late or like on the waiver wire in week 3.
We're kind of getting into topics that we're going to have on our next show, but
yeah. So let's continue on here.
So we got
let's talk about Tavon Austin, Mr. I have no idea when the fuck he's going to produce, but when he does produce, he blows the fuck up.
Try to just take a guess at what he finished last year at wide receiver.
I'm going to say top 20.
I'm not sure if he was top 20. I do know he was top 25 though.
Well,
he might have been in the top 20. I'm not sure. I know he was top 25 receiver last year. But once again, it's a guy that a lot of his points probably weren't spent. Like a lot of his points were probably spent on the bench.
That's true. Yeah. You know what though? He's just a guy that is a huge question mark. If you either draft him or pick him up through the waiver wire, whatever. He's a guy where if you start him, you're starting with some risk. He's either going to get you a huge goose egg, or he's going to get you an insane amount of points.
He's so hard to start just because he's a gadget player. He's like Percy Harvin.
Yeah, exactly.
When Percy Harvin
no idea.
When Percy Harvin was the Vikings, he was doing good, but it's like, should I start him?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or can I just pick someone that's maybe not going to have as high of a ceiling, but doesn't have as low of a floor?
Yeah, exactly. It's just a huge question mark. So just understand that the fifth downs advice in this one is if you take Tavon Austin, you're taking a huge risk.
I could see someone maybe taking him like 14th round, maybe your 5th or 6th receiver. I don't have an issue with that really. But
yeah, that's fine because in the 14th, 15th round, you're just trying to grab somebody.
You're just taking you're just throwing
stab in the dark.
Yeah, you're just throwing darts at the board at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Remains to be seen.
Let's go to a more fantasy relevant team. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Let's do the Seattle Seahawks.
The Seahawks.
Yeah, I see cocks and I devour them. I'm just kidding. I'm not gay. Russell Wilson. How do you feel about Russell Wilson? He really blossomed towards the end of last year.
Yeah, it's gonna, with Marshawn Lynch taking a back seat in that offense, getting injured and all that stuff, definitely let Russell Wilson show what he's capable of as a shotgun quarterback. Now, the other thing is, he's a guy that I personally hate. I fucking hate him, and you know what? And I hate him for all the wrong reasons. I hate him because he's good, and he's really, really good. And
sipping on that haterade.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I fucking hate him. I mean, I'm still sour about the Super Bowl a couple years ago when he just dismantled the Broncos. You're a Denver fan, so it makes sense. It's okay. Anyways, but phenomenal playmaker. He's a guy that I think is you're probably going to be able to get him for pretty good value at quarterback. He's probably going to go high, but you can snag him.
I don't think he's going to go as high as he did last year.
Well, I don't think he'll go high that high either. But
I mean, I think he maybe. Mm-hmm. I think he's going like 5th round right now.
Yeah. You know what?
But you know what? I have question marks about him, though. That's the only thing I have wrong with him. I have questions.
All right, let's hear those questions.
Are they going to unleash him and let him have control of this team to where he's slinging the ball around? Or are they going to still focus their game more around the run? Because I know they got Rawls, but he's kind of a little unpolished.
Yeah, Rawls, going to side note here, or transitioning right into it. Thomas Rawls is the guy I have on my draft boards in the top 25 going number 11. I see him being a pretty fantasy relevant guy, barring any injury. We don't know a whole lot about him. But
do you have him as a first rounder? I don't.
I have him as a first rounder.
See, I have him more of like a back end.
Late first rounder.
I have him more of the back end of the second, early third.
Really?
I'm just not high on him. His potential is there, but was he undrafted because of his talent, or was he undrafted because of his off the field issues? Well, either way, I have an issue with that.
Well, I think my only issue with him is injury. So disclaimer: you're drafting him. You are drafting somebody we have a very small sample size with him, and he could be a fantasy producer next year. Actually, I think he will be.
There are those people that are pretty high on him because of what he did last year. I think he was when he did play, when he was the starter, I think he was the number 2 running back. And I had him on my team too, and he helped me out for a couple of weeks, and then he got hurt.
Yeah, same here. I picked him up before the whole waiver wire hype went out on him, and he helped me out for a good 2 weeks, and then he got injured. So just keep that in mind when you're drafting him. He's a huge risk. Well, maybe not a huge risk, but he's a risk. But that's all I really got to say about Rawls. He's a guy I'm pretty high on at running back next year, but like I said, you get that injury risk. So moving right along,
they got a couple of interesting wide receiver prospects here. We got Doug Baldwin, who caught fire last year, right around the same time that Russell Wilson caught fire. He had, I think, something like in like 7 games, he had 14 touchdowns or something, or I'm sorry, 13 touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah, it was ridiculous what happened with him. I don't see that getting replicated next year, though.
I mean, I could see. Here's what I'm going to make a bold prediction. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to happen, but I could see Doug Baldwin and Lockett's roles reverse. Lockett ends up becoming this guy that gets 80 catches and 1,000 yards, and then Doug Baldwin goes back to his normal self. But I'm not saying that Lockett's going to get 14 touchdowns. I don't think any receiver in this team is going to get 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either.
I think at the most you'll see. I'll make a prediction Baldwin probably get 900 yards and 6 or 7 touchdowns.
And I know we're at least unanimous on the fact that if you're going to draft one of these two guys, you're going to want to draft the guy that you can get later, which
would have to be Lockett.
Yeah, which would be Lockett. So I would say stay away from Baldwin because of where he's going.
A lot of people are liking Baldwin next year. I don't like him because of where he's going. He's going
exactly.
He's going the 4th round. He's going the 4th round. There's other people that you can get that you're more sure of at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's my point too with him. He's just going too high for my liking. But that's really all I got to say about him. What do you think about the Arizona Cardinals, Johnny?
Well, they're a team that's very rich for fantasy points here. They got a really potent offense. They got Carson Palmer, 3 viable receivers, an up-and-coming running back. I really think that Carson Palmer can duplicate what he did last year, and he's going to be more of a price to pay for this year. He's going like 6th, 7th round.
Yeah, I absolutely love this team.
I don't have a problem with him in the 6th, 7th round.
Oh yeah, no, I don't either. Yeah, and you know what? Arizona's a team that I love extremely. Honestly, aside from my Broncos, I think Arizona's my second favorite team in the NFL. But with that point aside, I love Carson Palmer. Him and David Johnson helped propel my team to the fantasy championship last year, which unfortunately in week 17 because we had a late start that year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to win the championship because they both faltered in week 17, but they propelled me to that championship game. So,
man, I thought we were going to face each other in the championship.
I thought we were too, but we all know what happened there. So
my team choked, man.
Yeah, they choked, and that happens in fantasy. You know, you never know what you're going to get. So.
Where would you take Carson Palmer? Better yet, who would you take? Who do you have Carson Palmer in front of in terms of quarterbacks?
Well, I think this is a big, bold prediction, and a lot of you might disagree with me, but I would take Palmer any day over Drew Brees, and a lot of you think I would be crazy to predict something like that.
You know what? I don't disagree with that. I'm obviously pretty low on Drew Brees this year.
Yeah, I am too.
And we both had our reasons. Like if you look at, we'll get into Drew Brees later, but
yeah, Palmer's the quarterback I'm pretty high on. I'm seeing if you can get him in. Honestly, I would even take him as high as the 6th round. He's a guy that's as long as he stays healthy and doesn't have an injury. He's a guy he's going to be your season-long stud at quarterback.
But I also want to bring up the point, know your league. Because just because we're saying, oh, yeah, take him to the 6th round, there's other leagues where he might go before that because some other people, it's a lot of, other leagues, they take quarterbacks sooner than what we take them. So
that's true,
keep that in mind.
Yeah, if quarterbacks start flying off the board, you might be tempted to take a stud, you know.
And that's also why you want to make tiers, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. That way you have a cutoff of I want to take this many quarterbacks in this many rounds.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is if if nobody's taken a quarterback yet, and then somebody takes one, it sets up a chain reaction where everybody's taking a quarterback, and you're like, oh fuck, am I going to get a good quarterback? You know, what am I going to get with that? You know, so Carson Palmer's a guy. You know, I think if you can get him a good value, he's going to be a stud all season. But that's enough about Palmer. Let's talk about my real stud on this team. I know I'm extremely high on him.
You're the biggest one on this guy.
I'm the biggest David Johnson fan ever.
You're
I really
David Johnson advocate.
I am. He is on my preseason draft rankings. He is number 5 on my list. What do you see happening with David Johnson next year, Johnny?
Well, you know, he was a guy that even when he wasn't starting, he was still producing a lot of touchdowns. And then when he finally got that starting role, he really came under his own. He was catching a lot of balls in his mouth. He's catching a lot of passes. I think that he is definitely worth a 1st-round pick this year. I don't see him up in that top 5 area, but I definitely see him, if you have that 6, 7, 8, you have a tough decision to make. Are you going to take David Johnson or are you going to take Gronk?
That is a tough decision. In fact, that's my biggest one is that am I going to take David Johnson if I'm in the middle of that 1st round or am I going to take Gronk? And you know what? Right now, I'm a big fan of his. I'm taking David.
I think Kentucky Slot Fest, I think he's the lowest on David Johnson.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that
for his rankings of just running backs.
Yeah.
Only running backs, he has him at number 5. I have him at number 3 under running backs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Under running backs.
Only people I like more than him is AP because of what he can do, and then Le'Veon Bell because of his ability to run and catch.
He's my number 3, but the only 2 ahead of him in mine are Le'Veon and Todd Gurley. And you know what though? David Johnson.
Don't get me wrong. I could easily put Gurley in front of AP and Johnson.
Well, that's why I like our crew because we all differ on opinions, but we all somehow meet in the middle.
Here's the reason why I like David Johnson better than Todd Gurley, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
Who has a better offense, Arizona or LA?
Arizona.
who catches the ball more out of the backfield, Gurley or Johnson?
Probably Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah.
And who scores? I mean, they both score their share of touchdowns, but in our league, I think that Johnson outscored Gurley.
Yeah, you know what? I need to stop talking about him because I'm going to hype him up all day. But if you have that middle of the first round pick and you're confused, I think David Johnson, as long as he stays healthy, which he was the workhorse for the back end of last year, I think he's just going to be an incredible workhorse next year. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be an incredible producer for fantasy purposes. That's all I'm going to say about him. Let's go right on to the wide receiver situation. Who do you think is going to step up this year at wide receiver for Arizona?
Well, you know what? I mean, Fitzgerald is coming off one of his better years that he's had since he's been kind of quiet the past 3 years until last year he finally came up out of nowhere for Carson Palmer. But I think I kind of like Michael Floyd a little bit better than Fitzgerald this year, just because, I mean, even their coach strip came and said, like, he could have been a 1,500-yard receiver.
Oh, yeah. I think that a lot of people are going to be... I think he'll go high, but I don't think he'll go high enough to where you're not going to get him. He's a guy on my radar that maybe people aren't sleeping on.
I love me some Michael Floyd.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to be nice.
I don't like where Fitzgerald is being drafted at.
Like going way too high.
Second, third round. I don't like that.
Yeah,
you know what? He's too old for that.
Yeah,
He's too old.
If in your leagues...
I have him as a bust, actually, this year.
Yeah, I think he's a bust, too. In fact, he was one of the fringe guys I was going to list on my bust article. But Fitzgerald, if he in your league is going in the second or the third round or even the fourth round, I think that's way too high.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think he should go with the rest of the old people. Exactly. Later in the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you got Floyd at a much better value, and even John.
Where do you see him going at, actually, Johnny?
Probably like the fourth or fifth round.
Yeah, I like that value a lot.
There's a lot of wide receivers that I have rated at the back end of the first, early second, and a lot of receivers I have at the third and fourth round.
Yeah,
so
and you know what? I'm sure you'll
going.
agree with this statement, Johnny. I think if in the first round and the second round you're targeting running backs, he's a guy that I think that if you take him in like the fourth, you're getting him at a great value because you already got two stud running backs in the first couple rounds, and then you're getting great wide receivers.
He's a guy that I see as more of a wide receiver too. Mm-hmm. But could transition into that wide. I don't think he's going to finish in the wide receiver one, but he could.
I'm going to make a bold prediction and just say that I see him poised for a breakout season next year.
I mean, I could see that happening. I mean, how many yards do you think he's going to finish with?
Ooh, he's definitely going to be close to 1,000. I think.
I think he's going to be like right on that, like 12. I think he's going to get similar to what Fitzgerald got last year.
You know, I'll make a bold prediction right now.
The only issue I have with him, though, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the only issue I have with him is he is sometimes kind of boom or bust because he's a deep threat.
That is true. Yeah, and you know what? But I will make a bold prediction and say that he out produces Demaryius Thomas next year.
All right, we gonna make a little side bet here.
Well, we'll see.
I don't want to make a side bet. I think he's gonna outproduce him too.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we're in agreement on that. So we'll move right along here.
We didn't talk about John Brown.
Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about John Brown. Let's go hit John Brown.
Now he's another guy. Like I wouldn't recommend drafting him if you already have like Fitzgerald or Floyd, obviously. But he's another guy you could probably get a little bit later, like 6th, 7th round.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually not... He's going to produce decently.
Where do you see him as far as yards go?
Well, I don't see him as high as Floyd. Maybe he might be up there with Fitzgerald, but I think he'll have similar numbers to him. Not the similar numbers to what he had last year. I think he'll get like 900 yards and like maybe like 6 touchdowns.
That's true.
So, I mean, I think he's in that wide receiver 3 territory.
Yeah, I think if you can get him in the 7th, that's great value for him.
So they got no tight end to speak of.
You just want to move right into San Francisco then?
Yeah, we're just gonna make fun of everyone, right?
Yeah, we're gonna do a real quick overview of San Francisco. I even have listed here jokes because they are a bunch of fucking jokes, and we have no idea who's gonna start. We either have the clown Kaepernick, or we have fucking Blaine fucking Gabbert. I have no idea what the hell his deal is.
Chip Kelly has been praising Blaine Gabbert, saying he wants to rebuild him and he thinks he could be a decent starter. Which he was okay for a little bit last year, but like they didn't win any game.
But while we're speaking of jokes here, let's just talk about Chip Kelly, the biggest joke of them all. He turned the Eagles into a train wreck, and now he's going to turn the 49ers into a fucking even more of a train wreck than they already are.
It does appear like they're giving him a little bit of control over there, huh?
Yeah, I think he kind of demands that when he takes a coaching position, and I don't like it. I feel like he's in charge. You know,
he ruined the Eagles. He ruined them.
Just a quick side note here. He ran Nick Foles out of town, the guy that people thought was going to be the next franchise quarterback. And then now that he's in San Francisco, who does he want again? He wants fucking Nick Foles.
You know what? He might get his opportunity to get Foles because I heard that the Rams are going to release Foles.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, should have been in our news and notes. I just not thought about it, though, that they're going to release Nick Foles.
And you know what? And I see that happening. I see Chip Kelly like, oh, yeah, let me get him. But it's like he's just such an idiot that he doesn't realize that he wasn't high on him last year, and now all of a sudden he's high on him, even though, I don't think anybody should be high on him after the year he had last year with fucking L.A.
I mean, really, is there any player on this roster on the offensive side that you're happy about?
I mean, the only one that I could see even being fantasy relevant is Carlos Hyde.
I know it. I kind of do like being a little bit of Hyde. He got hurt last year. The only thing is he had one good game. He had several mediocre games. Then he got hurt. But the one thing that I do like about him is there's nobody else there. There's nobody else that can carry the rock. I don't think they brought Dron.
Yeah, Dron. I haven't heard anything about him yet.
He's a journeyman anyway. Reggie Bush, he's old and decrepit. I don't think he's on the team either.
I would have to double check with you guys. I'm sorry for not knowing this, but I believe he might have even retired. I'm not sure.
I haven't heard anything about retirement, but I do know he's in a pending lawsuit.
Yeah, with St. Louis, go figure.
And I mean, they got a rugby player that's there.
Oh yeah. I don't see much about Jared Hayne either. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Carlos Hyde might be like the motherfucking man there. Like
he could be.
There's nobody else. There. I mean, even receiver wise, like what do they have there? Like they got no more Antoine Bolden. Like I don't know why they're not bringing him back. I know he's old, but like he's still. If he brought him back, he'd still be their best receiver.
That's true, and that's the sad state that they're in too. They have fucking Torrey Smith. And
it's a shame that he's there because they're not utilizing him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why this team's a joke, and they will continue to be jokes. And
they have no tight end to speak of. I mean, you got McDonald, but he's not. I mean, he's not really like a viable option unless he's scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a guy that you might want to pick up on the waiver wire like week 2 or week 3 if he's producing. But just stay away from this team. The only one I would even consider is Carlos Hyde. He's a guy that you could probably get a really good value for a running back. He could produce like a running back 1. But he's a guy that you could probably get for great value. So you're drafting him with an injury risk, but I see him maybe be able to produce. So anything else you got on San Francisco, Johnny?
No. We can actually move on to the NFC North.
Well, do you remember where he lives?
Yeah, I know where he lives, but I'm insinuating like I'm forgetful.
Insinuating. Good.
Oh, do you know what that means?
I do know what
like,
it means, believe it or not.
to seem like.
Roll,
man, I'm done with the woods. Let's go. Come on, man, let's get the fuck out of here.
Okay, let's go. No, it's not working. The battery's dead.
Wait. What do you mean it's dead?
What do you mean the battery's dead? The battery's dead.
What do you mean the battery's dead?
How can I explain this to you differently? The battery is dead. It ceased to live. It's deceased now. The car needs a battery to start, so.
The Chicago Bears. They should cease to exist. I'm just kidding. They're wonderful people.
I'm sure.
All right, but speaking of the Bears, since we're going to start with them since they have the least relevant players probably, other than maybe Minnesota. But what do you think about Jay the Cutman Cutler?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm a little impartial to him because I'm a Broncos fan, but I call him Jay Cutler. He's a little cunt. But he has worked his way into fantasy relevance. He's a guy that I see also, like Eli Manning, get a little overlooked next year. Probably get good value for him. He'll be a serviceable quarterback.
I think he did have like some stretch of last year where he was usable. I really don't see him as a guy that you'd really want as your starting quarterback for a fantasy perspective. But I mean, I guess he could be a decent 2.
Sure.
I mean, he's probably not even a guy that's gonna get drafted. Really, I mean, if he does, he's gonna go really late.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy I can see getting good value for him, being a serviceable quarterback. I mean, he's a guy that won't win you the game, he won't lose you the game. He's like a fantasy game manager, really, the way you're getting.
Well, and another thing is it appears like the Bears really shored up their defense, so maybe they won't need to throw as much from being behind, but that's yet to be seen.
That's true.
But another interesting player that I'm sure a lot of people have been talking about is Jeremy Langford. How do you feel about Jeremy Langford, and what do you expect out of him?
I mean, I think he's a great asset for the Chicago Bears team. I think that he's going to really fill in that Matt Forte role really well. I think he's just going to be excellent. The other thing I got to say about him is that hopefully Kadeem Carey. I've been hearing stuff like mullings about how he might take the share of the goal line carries or whatnot, but who knows at this point? He's a guy that you could probably get pretty good value for. What do you think, Johnny?
I mean, it really all depends on how much you like Langford, and it really depends on how much value you're actually getting out of him, because he's going like 3rd, 4th round, which I think it's right where he should go, because he's kind of a little bit unproven. Last year, he really burst onto the scene with the Forte injury, but then if you look at the overall perspective of things throughout the entire year, he averaged 3.7 yards a carry, which Forte was never really a big yards per carry guy either, but you got to keep that in perspective that he didn't really have a great average. And if you think about it, everyone says, yeah, he's a great receiver out of the backfield, but he had 12 drops out of I think 50, I don't know how many targets he had, but I know he had 12 drops.
I did not know that, but yeah, that's actually a pretty big question mark too. I think overall he's a question mark, so we'll just leave it at that.
And another question mark I have about him is they are looking to bring in somebody else. How early, if they're going to draft somebody, how early do they draft the running back is how I'm going to feel about Langford. If it's within the first 3 rounds, I don't feel as strong about Langford all of a sudden. But if it's later in the draft, then maybe
I think
overlook it.
I think we're going to have a busy night once the draft happens and we're revising our draft boards. I think it's going to be a great night. But moving right along here, what do you think about oh God, I'm drawing a blank here. Alshon Jeffrey.
I really like the Chicago Bears' receiving corps. They got Alshon Jeffrey, who, when healthy, he could be a top 5 receiver.
Oh, yeah, easily.
But that's the issue. He's always been having these nagging injuries, and he might be going a little bit too early for my taste of blood.
Where do you think he ends up going, in most leagues?
He falls into that area where I have a lot of wide receivers going back into the 1st, early 2nd.
Really? Yeah, that is a little early for him.
That's where I've been seeing him going a lot in my mock drafts I've been doing.
I think where I'd feel comfortable drafting him is top of the 2nd.
But I mean, is he a guy that can get 100 catches? Maybe, maybe not, because it depends on what Kevin White looks like, because we never even got to see what he's done. But he potentially, yeah, I guess. I mean, we already know about Alshon Jeffrey. I'm actually a little bit more excited about Kevin White and what he can do. He's a potential breakout candidate this year. He plays in a team that maybe could sling the ball around a little bit if they don't have a proven running back.
But it's an interesting proposal too, because Kevin White could be that number 2 guy this year.
They drafted him in the 1st round, and they said that they
must have a plan for him.
They said that he has just as much potential as what Amari Cooper had last year, and you've seen what Amari Cooper did. So
I think if he jumps in and he takes that number 2 role by storm, I think he's going to be excellent value for you too, because a lot of people are going to be overlooking him. But a lot more on that too.
You get him a lot later too.
Exactly, yeah, and stay tuned for our post-draft ranking boards too, because that's going to be an interesting thing to look at after this. Anybody else you got to talk about the Bears, or?
I mean, they traded away Martellus Bennett.
I mean, I'm not really too high on him anyway, so fuck him.
So I'm saying that kind of opens the door for Zach Miller. They usually use their tight end, so it'd be a little bit interesting to see where he goes. I mean, that's not a guy I'm really looking to draft, but I mean, he's going to be there later in the draft, probably 9th, 10th round.
Shit, he's a guy I'm looking at maybe week 2, picking him up on the waiver wire.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right.
So that's enough for Chicago. Do you want to move to a team that's more relevant?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's move to the Packers. We got Ron and
Aaron Rodgers.
We all know what Rodgers can do. Rogers discount double check, right?
He's a little bit of a disappointment last year.
Yeah, he was. Well, considering where you had to get him, he was a disappointment.
They're like second round.
Yeah, exactly. You had to draft him high, and he wasn't he outside of the top 10 last year?
He was. He's finished as the number 12 quarterback.
Wow, that's insane. That's the first time we've ever seen that happen with Aaron Rodgers in his career.
I think this is the first time Aaron Rodgers played 16 games in a season and didn't finish as the number 1 or number 2 quarterback.
And just a disclaimer, this is not us saying that Aaron Rodgers is a terrible quarterback, because that is obviously not true. We're just saying that where he got him last year, kind of a disappointment.
It was a little bit of a disappointment. It was.
Because you're expecting him to put up like B probably the PPR.
Even if you look at his numbers, they're okay. He didn't have 4,000 yards. But he had I think like 30-something touchdowns, and I think he had like 8 or 9 interceptions, which is a low number.
That being said, I think he is a huge bounce back candidate this year. Not that I'm saying there needs to be a lot of bouncing back, but I feel like he's gonna.
I could see him
having a really strong year.
I could see him being with the number 1 quarterback next year.
I can see it happening too. In fact, he's honestly, out of all the quarterbacks next year that are going in the draft, I see him being the best.
I mean, let's just face it. Aaron Rodgers, he's a stud. Green Bay and their fans love him. He's attractive. He probably has a big dick.
Inside joke there too, folks. All right, so moving right along. Here's a guy that I'm not too high on. I think you feel maybe a little bit differently on him. But Eddie Lacy, everybody's raving about how he's in great shape, this and that, such and such. I'm still not high on the guy. I don't care what reports you hear out of him. My opinion on him hasn't changed. I think he's a huge question mark. I looked at him last year, and I'm still going off of what I see. And last year, I was watching him during the playoff game against Arizona, and he just looks so slow.
Anybody that lives in the Green Bay area, if you could please do us a favor, when the training camp starts, can you please watch it? And then shoot us like an email or a comment on our website, and let us know how he looks. Because me personally, I'm not really that big on him either, especially because of where he's being drafted at in the second round, third round. I don't want him there. I don't. I'm sorry. I heard he's been losing a lot of weight doing the P90X, but. I mean, he's kind of scary to draft, isn't he?
He is. He's just scary to draft because you got to think where you're going to get him. You're going to have to draft him top 3 rounds, and that's way too high for me.
If you look at a lot of other fantasy football sites and rankings, they're all going to be a lot higher than what the 5th down is because, I mean, we just go by what we see.
We like to think we're realists, and we go off what we see. And, please, if you're in the Green Bay area, stop by training camp, maybe get some footage of him if allowed.
I'm hoping that he's good.
Yeah, I hope that he's good, but you just gotta, if you do draft him, just understand that off of our recommendation, you're drafting him at your own risk, so just be aware of that, and then...
if you're drafting him, are you still drafting Starks?
Absolutely not.
No?
No. He's not even on my... The guy was a fumble-rooski maniac.
Well, what if you draft Lacy and he ends up flopping again, and now he's not the starter?
Well, obviously...
That's why it's a risk.
Okay,
so
if you do get Lacy and you're taking a big risk right there, I don't see Starks getting drafted, so, you're going to have to handcuff him, but I would say go ahead and pick him up in that waiver wire, or possibly drafting him with your last pick.
Let's talk about some more appealing players here on Green Bay. We got Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb. Which one do you like more? I think it's an obvious answer, but...
Oh, man. And a lot like the David Johnson thing, I'm really high on Jordy Nelson. I think this guy, after losing his whole season last year to an ACL injury, I think this guy is going to be an absolute monster next year in PPR leagues. What do you think, Johnny?
You know what? I know he's getting a little bit up there in age, but I've said this on multiple shows now. It looked like he's been recovering nicely. He's been running around. Where do you see him going in the draft? How high would you? Basically, because I'm saying, how high would you draft him at?
Oh, I got him right now at my number 12 overall.
So that's the first round?
That's a late first rounder. And I think that's excellent value if you are on the back end of that first round and you're seeing guys like, AP, Rob Gronkowski going, and they're not exactly available. Maybe even DeAndre Hopkins and Des Bryant went. I definitely take me some Jordy Nelson in the first round. What do you think, Johnny?
I think I have him more as a second rounder.
Really, like a top second rounder?
Like top half towards the middle.
Okay. Maybe you're a little lower on him. I think he's going to be a PPR monster next year.
I think I have him there just more based on his age, and I'm a little bit skeptical about taking players coming back from injuries.
That's true. I am one of the biggest advocates over that. So just understand you're drafting with a little bit of an injury risk, but overall, I think a late first rounder, early second rounder would be great value for him.
And Randall Cobb showed his true colors last year, saying, "Hey, I'm not a number one receiver. I'm just a number two." And I think he should be drafted accordingly.
I think so too. I think he's going to go way too high for my liking.
I don't think he's going to go that high, to be honest. I think people are going to be a little bit down on him because of what he did last year.
Really? You think? What do you think of Johnny?
Like 5th, 6th round.
Yeah, I'd say that's about appropriate value if he does go.
That's where a lot of like wide receiver 2s are going.
Yeah. That being said, know your league. Got a Packers fan in your league, he's probably going to take him a little bit sooner, but if you can get him in the 6th, I think I'd take him in the 6th.
Is there any other receivers that you want to mention, like maybe Montgomery, Epidarius, or whatever the fuck his name is?
No, they're not relevant.
Okay. I do want to touch up on...
Jared Cook?
Yeah, I was going to say, I do want to touch up on their tight ends a little bit. I want to know, you think Jared Cook's going to be the starter?
I think they spent way too much money for him not to be the starter. Rodgers was obviously serviceable, as proven in the Detroit game where he caught the Hail Mary, but, I don't know. They spent way too much money on Jared Cook, and Jared Cook could be a difference maker this year.
Jared Cook, he's one of those guys, like, he's athletically, he's a freak, but he's never been able to put it together. I think he's just one of those guys that has great, like, dynamics, but he can't put it together.
Yeah, but obviously with a guy like Aaron Rodgers,
that
pushes his value
an obvious upgrade compared to what he was working with in St. Louis. But
yeah, exactly.
Right now, he's still currently second string. Maybe that could turn around towards like maybe preseason. I definitely keep an eye on it. He could be a sneaky play. I don't really have him in my top 15 quite yet.
Maybe if you can sneak around in the waiver wire, maybe grab him with a waiver claim. If you can't get any of the other guys, if you're sitting low on the waiver wire, snag him.
If you're one of those guys that likes to keep more than one tight end, he's definitely your guy that you can keep on the bench for sure.
Exactly. I'm even saying potential breakout candidate next year. I think with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, say. Maybe he overtakes Rodgers, the tight end Rodgers for, the top spot, and or whatever happens. I think that he's going to be a guy to keep an eye on. I definitely wouldn't spend a draft pick on him, but keep an eye on him. Look at see how the situation's developing, and maybe something happens.
So now we're going to move on to.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
Why you always lying, Lions? You know you're not a contender.
All right, so let's start off with
you get the Lions.
Matthew Stafford. Let's jump right into it.
Matty Stafford really came under his own under the almighty Cooter last year towards the back end of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if continued success next year at the start of next year.
Well, you know what? The entire NFC North had a rough schedule last year. Their schedule looks a lot better this year, so I could expect Stafford to get some sneaky numbers this year.
Yeah, he's another guy that I'm looking at too. He wasn't on my article, but he is a guy that you're going to want to look at too. He's going to be a guy maybe a lot of people are sleeping on.
Do you think that he'll be all right without Calvin Johnson?
I think he'll be fine. I think Calvin Johnson had proven he wasn't the elite threat that he used to be last year. He's definitely a serviceable receiver, but I don't think he was that elite threat anymore. So I think he'll do just fine.
I think the issue with Stafford is when at times he seems like he tried to force the ball to Calvin when he should have looked elsewhere, and now that he doesn't have to do that, maybe he can make some better decisions, which these last 2 years he has been cutting down on his touchdowns, but I've been cutting down on his interceptions, but it's come at the price of cutting down on his yards as well. It seems like they're trying to take the game more out of his hands, which really isn't necessarily a good thing because the running game's like real shitty. Yeah, well, let's, I think we said enough about Stafford. I think he's going to be a sleeper next year. I think you should draft accordingly. I think he's going to go a little late. But let's jump right into that backfield. Amir Abdullah, what do you expect from him this year? Not happy with him.
Yeah,
just put it this way. If he was my RB3, I wouldn't feel very strong about that.
Wow, even an RB3, that's a bold statement there.
I mean,
there's a lot of good reports coming out of camp, though. Or, well, not camp, but there's a lot of good reports coming out of there.
He did say that he found out what it takes to become a starting running back in the NFL.
Yeah, that's not fumble the ball.
That's another reason why I like him. A lot of people, they don't just fix that problem, fumbling the ball. I mean, look at AP. He still has a fumbling issue.
Even though he's a dominant running back, they don't fix that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't really feel that great about him. I feel like he's more of just like an edge runner. He's not a guy that's going to be the guy you want to carry like 20 times a game.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I thought they were going to probably try to pick a running back up in the free agency, but they didn't. Now I'm thinking, are they going to draft somebody? I mean, you got to think they got to get somebody, right? They released Joyce Bell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only other guy they have back there is they have a dude that went undrafted, Zach Zenner. They also have Theo Riddick, who's not really a guy that they give carries to. He's more of a receiver.
Yeah, he's just more of a.
Which I do kind of like him later in the draft, like 9th, 10th round, where you can get him. Like that's not bad.
I think he'll be a pretty good PPR machine.
He's a nice little bench stash for you.
Yeah, nice little bench stash. So let's jump into now. Calvin Johnson's gone. Who's going to be the number one back there? I know you said something about Marvin Jones.
I think Marvin Jones ended up being the number one there with Tate going underneath, and
really,
he can try to maybe stretch the field a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't mean to disagree with you here, but Golden Tate is a guy that I fucking hate. I absolutely hate this motherfucker. From the Fail Mary thing, I just don't like him at all. But I do think he's going to be the number one guy back there.
I don't think that he's. I think Tate's going to outproduce him.
Sure. Okay.
Because especially in a PPR setting, he's going to get himself like 90 catches and maybe but those 90 catches are only going to translate to like 1,000 or maybe 1,100 yards because he doesn't really get a lot of depth per reception unless he can get back to his 2014 form where he was getting those yards after the catch, which he really didn't get last year. But I could see him being the best receiver on the team in terms of especially where you can get him 4th, 5th round, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you could probably get him later than Tate too. So
we talk about Marvin Jones; he's going towards the back of the draft, actually.
Oh yeah, that's excellent value.
That's why I kind of like him a little.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, see, for where you can get him, that's even better value. So another reason, I think Golden Tate's going to get the lion's share of the carries. Not to make a pun or anything, but I think that Marvin Jones will be that guy that you can get for pretty good value though at the end of the draft.
One last guy. Do you think that Eric Ebron can have a breakout season without Kelvin?
No, because he can't fucking catch.
I do think that he definitely improved off of his rookie season, and the third year is where you see tight ends really come under their own. It'll be really a make or break year whether they're going to give him an extension or not. So I think maybe he could do some things there, and especially the only thing I don't like about him though is I don't like really where he's going, 7th, 8th rounds, kind of tight end, dead zone, that's where all the tight ends go that you really don't want. Yeah,
if you can't get a tight end at the top of the draft, I would just wait till the end because you can probably get some really good values like we were talking in the AFC show, like Ladarius Green, such and such, but we won't get too into that. Let's continue right along to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, these fuckers, man, their quarterback sucks. I'm just going to throw that out there. Bridgewater is a less talented version of Alex Smith.
Agreed.
I mean, you got AP. He's obviously a beast. Are you at all worried about his age, though?
I am a little bit. This is the age where running backs really they tend to be over the hill. But he proved last year he has no signs of slowing down. So he's a guy that I would draft with no risk.
I do think right now I have him probably a little bit too high in my running back rankings.
Yeah, I see. I did think you had him a little high. I think the only reason that I have him even a little lower than you is because of that age. But at the same time, he proved last year he can be a fucking stud.
I do feel like I need to move him behind Johnson and even Gurley. But I think I'd still keep him in front of guys like Jamal Charles and Devontae Freeman.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, I agree with you there.
There's really not a whole lot of players on this team that are worth a damn. You got Stephon Diggs, who I'm still not really high on him because of the team that he plays for. They just don't have a very high passing volume for him to get consistent targets.
Unless Bridgewater makes some real strides next year, I don't see Diggs being too big of a threat. But I will tell you this: I picked him up on the waiver wire, and I'm sure a lot of you did too. He was waiver wire gold for 2 weeks, and then he was just nothing. And you know what? I wasted a wide receiver spot on him for the next 3 weeks, expecting something out of him, and nothing happened. And then the rest of the season, he just sat on my bench. So, you got to think that's one of the factors that could happen. He's a great route runner. There's early reports coming out of Vikings camp saying that he's a stud. But it's.
I don't currently have him as my top 36 for wide receivers, which means I don't have him as a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and I can see that happening. So we'll see what happens. He's probably, if he does break out next year, you're getting him at a great value towards the end of the draft, if even undrafted too. So there's that as well.
And they don't really have any other receivers to speak of, really. I mean, Charles Johnson was the guy that everyone was raving about last year. He didn't do shit.
Yeah, I don't see anything happening with him either.
And I don't see him doing anything good next year.
Yeah,
and they got rid of Mike Wallace. They heard they might draft a speedster in the draft this year, so look out for that. Although Bridgewater already proved he has a terrible deep arm, so I don't know why they'd waste that pick on that.
But I don't even know why we're still talking about it.
Yeah, they got no tight end to speak of. They got Kyle Rudolph, who's inconsistent at best.
Well, he did show a little potential at the end of last season. I don't know how comfortable you feel, but he's another one of those tight ends that falls in that little dead zone where I'm not comfortable drafting him.
He's way too touchdown dependent for him to make it on my team.
Exactly, yeah. So you're drafting with a huge risk, in my opinion. But that's all I got on the Vikings. You got anything else for the NFC North as a whole?
I don't really. I think we covered it pretty good.
All
right, so this brings us to our fantasy hotbed here in the NFC South. There's a lot of players to talk about here. I know we are getting up there at a time, so
we'll keep this nice and short but concise.
Yeah, let's go with the New Orleans Taints. We already know our stance on Drew Brees.
Yeah, I think he's going way too high, especially for my liking. He's a guy who just, he's a guy that, do you start him, do you not start him? He struggles on the road mostly, and I just think this year is going to be a down year for him too. I think, and there's even reports coming out of Saints territory that he's having a contract dispute, so we'll see what happens. I could even, possibly mean things down the road like he's not there in 2017, so we'll see what happens with that. Way too early to tell, but he's a guy next year where I'm not too high on him. Injury risk and just overall, I don't know what you're going to get with him. So,
well, we both kind of mentioned this on our articles about Drew Brees. We both think he's going to be a bust this year, and I mean, it really all comes down to he's good at home, he's not good on the road, and if you look at his schedule going into the next year, here's a couple of teams that he has to play at home. You ready for this? Like, he has to play first off, he has to play the Rams, Seattle, and Denver all at home. That's not good. 3. You only get 8 games at home. That's 3 of them right there where you could play pretty poor at home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're looking at that standpoint, 5, maybe 6 games he does well.
Yeah, I don't like that at all, especially with
and
that
also
Denver
to mention,
defense.
even again on the road, he has to play Arizona and Kansas City. He has a terrible schedule this year. I'm saying I don't want nothing to do with Drew Brees.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm very low on him.
They have a very tough schedule.
As referenced in my article, I'm not too high on him this year. So we'll just go ahead and leave it at that for him. But let's go to that backfield. Ingram, what do you think?
At first I was really big on Ingram. I was thinking, man, this guy is going to be a stud next year. But now that I'm looking at where he's getting drafted, and he's getting drafted in the first round. Like, I don't want him in the first round. Like, that's too early for me.
Yeah, way too early.
I mean, yeah, he catches a lot of passes, but they also kind of use him a little bit inconsistently in the rushing game. Like, there'll be some games where he'll get, 6 carries, and there'll be some games where he gets, 20. And they're also a team that likes to play from behind a lot and air it out and put up all these points, and sometimes it leaves the running back by the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The only notes I want to make on him is that, he's a guy that I like to look at, and, the biggest one I like to compare him to is Frank Gore, or maybe a more efficient version of Frank Gore. He's dependable, as he proved last year. Obviously, ended the season, the last couple of weeks, he got a shoulder injury. But overall, towards the season, he was just Mr. Consistency all the way around. I think if you're really looking at somebody like that, get Frank Gore way later. Because, Ingram's a guy that's going to go way too soon for you.
That's the thing. He's going in the first round.
Yeah, that's way too early for me.
Yeah, that's where he's going.
Yeah, that's insane. So moving right along from that, we both have a consensus on that one. Brandon Cooks.
You know, he's a guy that I really don't think is a true number one receiver for the Saints. I think he's more of a number two. But with that being said, he's a guy that I could see getting like 90 catches.
Yeah,
he's just not a guy that's going to get a lot of touchdowns. But from a PPR standpoint, he's definitely worth where he's being taken, like the third round.
Yeah, I'd take him in the third round. I think, especially for PPR value, you'll get a good return on your pick.
I mean, I think the sneakier play for the Saints though is a Willie Snead. He did prove that he was useful last year. He got, I think, like 70 catches. I could be wrong.
I think he'll definitely return wide receiver 3 value.
Yeah, he's definitely. That's where I'd have him as like wide receiver 3, and you'll be able to get him a lot later than you'll be able to get Cooks. You'll be able to get him like in the 10th round.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great value for that. So
the guy that I'm most excited about though is Coby Fleener, because if we've learned anything in these past few years from the Saints is they produce some numbers at the tight end position. Just you have to look no further than what Benjamin Watson did last year.
Yeah, that's true.
He was a top 10 tight end, and I don't think that Fleener will outdo what Watson did last year, but I think he'll have very similar numbers. And where he's being drafted, you gotta love to target him later in that draft because he could be a starting tight end and finishes in the top 10. Like, why would you not take him in the later rounds?
Oh yeah, that's agreed. So anything else you got on the Saints? I think we're ready.
We're ready to move on to. We want to do the Falcons.
Yeah,
or you want to do Carolina?
No, let's do the Falcons. We'll start off with Matt Ryan. Do you see him being Matty Ice or Matty Not So Nice next year?
Well, I think this whole division gets to play the NFC West, so that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
So, I mean, I'm not really expecting a whole lot out of Matt Ryan. I don't have him ranked very high. Actually, I think I have him ranked too high. I have him number 15 right now for quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't have
I think I need to move him down lower. I think where Kentucky Slotfest ranked him, like he has him like the 20th ranked quarterback. I think that's more suitable for where he should be. I do need to fix that. I will do that after the draft. I'm not a fan of Matt Ryan. I am not.
Yeah, agreed.
He's ice cold. He is Matty Ice because he is ice cold.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's going to be more of Matty Not So Nice because he's not going to be very nice for your fantasy team next year.
The good news is, though, he is going very late, so he's kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, exactly. He's not a guy I'm targeting. I mean, if you get him real late and he doesn't go, then maybe you can grab him for extremely great value at the end of the draft. Who knows? But let's talk about the real fantasy relevant player on this team, and that's Mr. Julio Jones.
Julio.
So I know you have nothing but high praise for him, Johnny. So we'll let you start it off.
I've had him on my team for the past 2 years. He just does not let me down.
He's a stud.
I kind of wish that they wouldn't be so terrible in the red zone because he's probably one of the best red zone receivers and they don't utilize him in the red zone. It makes no sense. But he's a guy, he had the most yards in the league last year for receivers.
Yeah.
He had, I think, 1871.
Yeah, incredible.
The only thing he only had 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a monster. I do, however, as far as receivers go, he's my number 3. I have Odell Beckham above him. But I mean, like I said, he's my number 3.
And we had this conversation earlier. I currently do have Julio at number 2 over Odell, but it could easily go the other way. I wouldn't feel bad about having it the other way.
I think we can both agree that either one you draft, you're going to get a definite return on your pick.
Yeah, he had something like 130 catches last year. That's fucking fantastic.
Absolute monster. Football. Yeah, incredible. So
especially in the PPR setting, especially in the way our system is, that's great.
Oh yeah, insane. So let's go on.
Are you expecting anything? Before we move on, are you expecting anything out of Mohamed Sanu at that number 2 spot?
He did nothing in Cincy. He might do something in Atlanta at the number 2 role, but I don't see a whole lot. I'm not expecting anything.
I think just for the fact that he's going to have more of an opportunity, his numbers will improve, but he's not going to be a consistent fantasy producer.
You see him at wide receiver 3 or
maybe if so back end. I'm not a guy I'm too excited about.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that, and then we'll go on to the backfield. Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman. What do you got for that backfield?
Well, for you guys that want to draft Devonta Freeman, I must urge you, if you're drafting Freeman, also draft Coleman. do it. If you're drafting him, you need to draft the entire backfield.
That is true. Yeah.
But it's coming at a price though, because Freeman is going towards like the back end of the first, and he could totally flop on you. I'm not saying he's going to. I do think he's going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield, but is he going to produce like he did last year? I'm not so sure. I have him as one of my busts on my article, and there's some really good reasons why. Last year, Freeman, he started really hot. He had 4 100-yard games from weeks 3 through 7, but from week 9, his final rushing totals were as followed. He had 12 carries for 12 yards. He had a bye week 10. Then he had week 11, he had 3 carries for 43 yards because he got injured. So he sat out for week 12. Week 13, he had 14 carries for 47 yards. Then the next week he had 25 carries for only 56 yards. But he did have a touchdown. And then the next game, then he finished it off with 22 carries for 73 yards and a touchdown. So after the second half of the season, he only topped 50 yards twice and only scored 2 touchdowns for the second half of the season.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking that's the trend that could probably continue for next year, especially with the harder schedule.
Yeah, I see that happening too, especially with the strength of schedule too. Pay attention to that too. When you're looking at drafting these guys, look at who they're playing next year, because I think that Freeman is going to be a victim of that. He's just he plays a tough system next year, and yeah, he had a pretty terrible back end of the season last year, and a lot of people like to forget that because he had such a hot start. So he's a guy that he's going a little too high for my liking. Do I think he's going to have a good year? Yeah, I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield, but I think he's going too high. So a lot of you guys are going to get mad at us because we're sitting here hating on him. I'm not hating on him. I'm just being real with you.
Yeah, we're going out with that hater that keeps commenting on our shit.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, though, the coach did come out and say they do plan on using Coleman more next year, so keep that in mind if you're wanting to be a Freeman owner. Own Coleman as well.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to handcuff him for sure.
So I think we touched up on Atlanta pretty good. Let's go to the NFC South champions, the Carolina Panthers. Super Cam.
Well,
I know you're not real big on him.
Well, I'll just say this. Next year, if you do draft Cam Newton, I like to call him Scam Newton because he's going to scam you out of a high pick. He's going to. No, I wouldn't say he's going to scam you out of a championship. But he's going to scam you out of a high round pick. Let's be honest here, and I'm going to give him his due diligence here. Cam Newton had an insane year last year. He was impressive as all fuck. I mean, this guy he did everything. He scored you touchdowns. Got you those rushing yards. He even got you some rushing touchdowns. I mean, this dude did it all. He was phenomenal. And if he replicates that, then he will easily return his value for the pick that you're getting him at.
He's never thrown for that many touchdowns.
Exactly,
before,
and that's why it's a red flag that he won't. It's not that he won't produce next year. He just won't be at that level next year.
He's going pretty high, like early third round. Like, I don't like drafting quarterbacks in that range. I've never drafted quarterbacks in that range. Like, I'm a big advocate. I'm either getting a value for your quarterback or waiting later for a quarterback, and that's just not a value.
Yeah, exactly. That's not a good value. I mean, yeah, sure. If he replicates the season, if you feel confident he's going to replicate last year again, then
he's going against tougher competition.
Yeah, exactly. He's going against tougher competition. You never know what you're going to get, so we'll see. But I think that a lot of people are way too high on him.
But let's talk about somebody that the people might be sleeping on a little bit, and that's Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah.
A lot of people are forgetting about his rookie season because last year he sat out with the ACL injury, but it happened before the season started, so he should be fully recovered. But, last year I was also saying stay away from him, because I heard some reports that he was coming to training camp overweight, and maybe that had something to do for why he tore his ACL.
That could be too, so we'll have to see about that playing shape. But we also can't forget how dominant he was 2 years ago.
I mean, he's not a real fast receiver. He doesn't get a lot of separation, but he's a guy that... He's
super physical.
He's very physical. He's good at getting the jump balls. Cam Newton likes to throw the ball high anyways, so that works out well for those two.
Yeah, I think it's a match made in heaven next year if Benjamin can come in camp good shape and I think it's just a match made in heaven with those two. But like I said, don't expect that.
He's going on I keep saying this, but like third or fourth round.
Yeah, Yeah, you know what? I don't know if that's too high or not. It remains to be seen.
There's a lot of guys going in that area, so some of them could slip. If he's one of the guys that slips, that's good.
Yeah, I think that's great value for you for a wide receiver too.
Do you think that
back into the wide receiver one?
Do you think that Kelvin Benjamin hurts Greg Olson's value at all?
I think it does a little bit because obviously
they're both red zone targets.
Oh yeah, well, and the biggest thing I think is that Greg Olson last year with the Benjamin injury, he was Cam Newton's most trusted guy. I mean, there was no guy.
And that was one of my favorite trades I made.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, that didn't really help either of us.
No, I'm talking about the first time I traded.
Oh yeah, Mike Evans. Yeah, that's right.
Like I was loving life.
Yeah, he was really producing for you, and then when you traded him to me, he kind of fell off a little bit at the end of the season because he was honestly a victim of Cam's success because Cam was just a fucking monster last year. But I think it does hurt Greg Olson's value a little bit because he's now he now has two trusted targets in his wide receiver tight end core. So
he's going at a decent value though. He's going to like 5th round.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's not bad for a tight end at all.
Especially a guy that you can rely on all season.
You know what you're getting out. You're getting out of Greg Olson. He's one of the most consistent tight ends in the league.
Exactly.
We'll touch up on their. Do you want to say anything about Jin at all? Do you think he's worth mentioning?
No, he's not worth mentioning at all. He's going to drop any relevant pass that comes his way next year.
He's the most awkward athlete ever.
He is.
Like he's a guy that he runs so fast and then he'll just trip over his own feet, or he'll have a ball perfectly in his hands and he'll just drop it.
Yeah, you're talking about an athletic freak as far as speed goes, but then everything else, well, he's just fucking terrible.
He's a guy that we're not going to mention no more. Let's touch up onto their backfield a little bit. We've got Jonathan Stewart. He surprised some people last year. He came at a value for people last year.
Yeah, he did.
He was healthy for the most part for like 13 games.
Yeah, I remember, I can't remember who it was, but some idiot in our league dropped him, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, God, you're an idiot. And just, it's super good value for me.
I remember when Stewart got hurt, I picked up Fozzie Whitaker and Artis Payne just to block him.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I had no intention of starting him.
Yeah, just wanted to cock block him.
Yeah.
And you're a cock block.
But Jonathan Stewart's he's probably going to go at a value again this year because of his age.
Yeah, and the injury risk too. You got to keep that as a disclaimer if you're drafting him.
Talking about his injury risk, I think I might have jumped the gun a little bit early last year. I drafted Artis Payne because I thought, there's no way Stewart's going to last all year. So I drafted Artis Payne. I didn't. Obviously, I ended up keeping him. I dropped him because I needed room. But once again, I think I'm all aboard the Payne train again, man.
Wow, bold statement.
I'm only saying that because the risk of having Jonathan Stewart. He's a guy that likes to get hurt.
Yeah, that is true. That's all I got to say about him. Phenomenal player if you can get him at a value, but you got that injury risk.
5th, 6th round, man.
Okay, I'd take him there. All right, let's go right into the old Buckaroos, the Tennessee Buccaneers.
Buddy, we got our old buddy Crab Legs.
Oh, Crab Legs, famous Jameis. He's a guy I'm really high on. We all know that from my recent article. He's a guy that I see having a pretty much a breakout year next year. There is that risk for the sophomore slump, but that's all due to chance. I think that this guy, he's going to make leaps and bounds next year. He's going to build on his strong rookie season. I think he's a guy that you're going to be able to get good value for late in the draft. What do you think, Johnny?
I couldn't disagree more with you, man.
Really?
I'm so down on Jameis Winston.
Wow.
And here's why. I think he finished like quarterback like 14 or 15 last year, which it's really good for a rookie because he had like 4,000 yards. He won Rookie of the Year, but his numbers were boosted greatly by the 6 rushing touchdowns he had. He only had 22 passing touchdowns to 15 interceptions, and he's got the 32nd ranked strength of schedule for quarterbacks next year, so that's the hardest schedule. And I just unless he had like another receiver that could step up, maybe like I don't see Vincent Jackson step up, maybe like ASJ.
Yeah,
he definitely is going to need some help. The only thing he really has going with them is they have a very balanced offense with Doug Martin and the receiving core.
Yeah.
So they're really going to have to play off the play action a lot more, I think.
True.
I think
those are all very good points. I think that he will rise to the occasion. I think he'll he'll prove you wrong next year, and he'll be a great return for that late round quarterback value.
And I kind of touched on it a little bit. We got Doug Martin. I know you're not really high on Doug Martin.
Well, I'm not to say that I'm not high on him. I just don't like where he's getting drafted at. He's going way too high for my liking. I think that the year in offense is going to shift more towards famous Jameis.
You want? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I think that Jameis is going to make some pretty good strides next year as far as the offense goes, and I think we'll talk more about this next. But Mike Evans, though, is a prime breakout campaign guy next year. I think he's going to have a really good year next year under Jameis.
Well, I know it's kind of ironic. Is we got Tampa Bay has the hardest schedule for quarterbacks, but actually has the easiest schedule for running backs.
That is something to look at.
That's why, Martin does have a history of injuries because he had a good rookie season, and then he had last year was really good, but sandwiched into some pretty mediocre injury-riddled seasons. So that's another thing you got to consider. He does have a little bit of a risk going into that, which is why I kind of like myself some Charles Sims.
Ooh, yeah, Sims, that is an interesting proposition, too. I think he will actually be a producer in PPR leagues.
9th, 10th round is where he's going. I mean, if you're a guy that's drafting all these wide receivers and a tight end early in the draft, Sims is probably a guy you're going to want to target later in the draft to shore up that running back position for you.
I mean, at the very least, he's going to be a bench stash for you.
I have him as an RB3.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will definitely return value as an RB3. But let's jump into that wide receiver situation. We both agree that V-Jax isn't really going to be a factor next year, but let's talk about Mike Evans. I think he's poised for a nice rebound year. What do you think, Johnny?
You know what? I think he knows what he did wrong. He has to shore up the drops. He had too many of them.
Absolutely.
I think that last season was more of an outlier for him, and then he might come back more towards like what he did his rookie season.
I think so too. I think be poised for a breakout season by Mike Evans. I actually have him going number 24 overall, so I see maybe back into the second. In fact, he's a guy
that's right about where he's going.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll make a bold statement right here. There's guys like Demaryius Thomas and Brandon Marshall ahead of him. You know what? I would rather have Mike Evans than either of those two. Even though I have him higher on my list, I think if I'm sitting there,
you got Marshall and Thomas as busts this year too.
I really think they are. They're both kind of. I mean, Demaryius Thomas isn't over the hill, but I know Brandon Marshall is, in my opinion. I think Demaryius Thomas is just going to be a victim of we don't know what the fuck is going on with that Denver quarterback situation. But not to touch too much on that, I think Mike Evans, though, he's going to be a great return for your value. If you get him late second round, I think he's going to be an excellent choice next year, and we'll have a nice rebound season.
You know, I got him at a value last year. I think I drafted him that 4th round, 3rd round, something like that. And I thought, wow, that's pretty good.
Wow, I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah, I drafted him right around that area, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not really so sure about Winston, so I traded him away. And I'm glad I did because he ended up having a pretty bad season.
He had a lot of drops. But
I really think he's going to rebound. Any other player you want to mention on Tampa Bay? ASJ?
ASJ, I just want to say a lot of people are sleeping on him. He's another guy that you can get late at the end of the draft that a lot of people are going to overlook, and he could be a prime breakout candidate at that tight end position if Jameis Winston has a strong season.
I do think if they can get their shit together, ASJ could be what Jordan Reed was next year. Maybe not as high of a finish, but definitely top 10.
Oh yeah. I think you're if you get him, if you draft him late, you're drafting a guy that could be like a tight end 2, but potentially a nice tight end 1.
I'm going to pull up something a little bit interesting about ASJ because I'm sure not a whole lot of people know about what he's accomplished. So I'm just going to pull up these stats real fast about him because I really am a true believer in him. I have him as one of my sleeping guys at tight end. Last year, he only appeared in 7 games because of injuries, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but injury problems.
In those 7 games, he scored 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
I mean, he's 6'5", he's 260 pounds.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that first game that he played with Jameis, he scored 2 touchdowns, I believe.
I'm pretty sure he did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a guy. He's the 5th easiest schedule for tight ends this year.
Yeah, he does have a nice little schedule.
He's 6'5", 260 pounds.
Got that size, physical presence.
He's another red zone target other than Mike Evans. So
you heard it here first before you heard anywhere else. ASJ, he is 5th down approved as a sleeper this year.
Stamp it and prove it. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, dude, that covers the NFC North. You got any final last tokens of advice?
Hey, all I got is join the 5th down and you will win your league. That's all I got to say about that. You got anything, Johnny?
Yeah, I do have. I just want to mention again about Team Manager. They are generating dominant and winning DFS lineups and perfecting your season long-term goals of winning a championship. Their beta is available May 6th. Invite your friends now. If you get 40 referrals, you have a chance to win a signed football by Beckham Jr. So get out there and go on their website, www.fantasyteammanager.com, and win yourself some championships.
All right, this is the 5th down. Signing off. K-Mill out.
Yeah, buddy. Feel free to check out our new articles that we've been coming out with the sleepers and busts. I know we've mentioned it a lot. We got ourselves on Twitter, our 5th Down FF. So look us up there. We got our Facebook that's booming. The 5th Down. Just look us up. The blue logo. So yeah, we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Look out for our next episode that we want to try and do later this week. It's going to be all about draft strategy, so it's really important. I know it's early, but the more you get info you get now, the better you'll be later on. Out.
Oh,